All right, guys. We want to do this segment a little different. There's two average guys here, right? May haven't seen our other videos, but one of us is single, one of us is married. So we kind of wanted to look at it two different perspectives on how we handle things for finances and relationships. So we're gonna sit here and talk to Mr. Rich and see how he has these discussions, or if he even has these discussions with his, potential partners, and then we'll kind of go into my relationship and how we handle our finances and kind of where we started and how we're at now. Mr. Rich, how does finances play a role when you're looking for a partner? If it even does play a role, like how does is that something you're thinking about? Do they need to have a similar mindset like you? Is that not important? Is it important?
That's actually a really good question. So what I would say as far as when it comes to a relationship or talking to women or anything like that, and I just want to make sure, are you talking about my finances or her finances?
I think her mindset on finances, right? Because does she handle them well? Does she not? Is that a concern? If she blows her money, is that like a negative, or is that something that you're like, okay, well, I could work with this, or how do you see that?
The way that I view this, right, and the way that I see it is typically with going out with women, dating women, finances is as far as her side, there's virtually nothing. The reason being is because I would say that typically when I go out, I am that gentleman of like, hey, you know what? Wherever we go, I know that I'm paying. I'm the type of person like if I invite you somewhere, like even if you're my friend, if I invite you somewhere, pretty much I'm saying, hey, you know what? I'll pay. But with women, I automatically, hey, you know what? Let's go have dinner. Let's go to the movies. I pay for everything. Typically, when I go out, I don't ask them like, hey, you know what? You want, like, let's say we're going to movies. Hey, you want a popcorn or you want a soda or whatever, whatever. If she wants one, she'll go ahead and say. What I'll do, what I'll kind of introduce is like, hey, you know what? I'm going to get an icy. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get that, whatever, whatever. And typically, if the woman wants something, she'll say that. You know what I mean? Or I've had it also where the woman should be like, oh, okay, well, I'll go ahead and get something too. What I'll do, and this is kind of like a test, okay? This is kind of a test for me. I don't know if anybody else does this, but what I do is like, oh, okay, go for it. We'll go ahead and tell them, you know what I mean, what you want. And sometimes the women, they'll tell them what they want, and then she'll pull out her card or cash or whatever, she'll pay. And then right after she's done, oh, okay, well, I want an icy, I want this and that, whatever, right? But then there will be times where the women will be like, hey, let me have a popcorn, let me have a hot dog, let me have, a pickle, and let me have a large drink, whatever, right? And then she'll turn around with the puppy dog eyes and look at me. It's like, oh, okay, you want me to pay? All right, well, just give me a water. No, I'm just playing. I'm just like, okay, well, give me an icy, give me whatever, right? All right, cool, and I'll pay, and like that's pretty much it, right? Now, does that affect as far as my thought, as far as do I like this girl or not? I'll say it depends. Typically, I'll say no. Honestly, it really doesn't affect it. Now, I have had some individuals where we'll go somewhere, like let's just say to the mall, we'll be walking around, or we'll go get drinks or something like that. And she'll be like, oh my God, I like this. Do you like this? Oh my gosh, I really wish that I could buy this, whatever, whatever. And I know that she's trying to get something out of me. Obviously, like you have to set that boundary of like, hey, you know what? Okay, that's cool. Well, why don't you buy it? Why don't you pick it up? Oh, well, see if maybe they have it online when you have the cash or something like that. You know what I mean? It doesn't get too far as like how she's spending her finances or anything like that. And I'll say the main reason being is because a lot of these women that I go out with, there's no marriage on my mind. There's no exclusive relationship that's on my mind. So because there's no exclusive relationship that's on my mind, I'm not really too much thinking about finances or anything like that. I know that there's something that she's giving and receiving, and there's something that I'm giving and receiving. So it's kind of just that handshake of a relationship of going out, dating, different things like that. But as far as for marriage or somebody who I want to have an exclusive relationship with, it is definitely a little bit different. And the reason being is because if she's going to be with me, first thing I will say is that she's going to have to get on my plan. She's going to have to, whatever it is that my values and everything are with finances, she's gonna have to jump on that too. So don't get me wrong, if she has similar practices with money and finances, then perfect. Like we match up even better. But if she doesn't, if there's something that I have to teach her or something that I have to go into, it's a little bit more of a challenge, but it's not out of the question. And I will say, because honestly, especially dating here in the United States, majority of people in the United States have issues handling money. So it's not something that's uncommon. But it is definitely a plus if you're frugal with your money. You know what I mean? If you understand your finances and handle yourself well, that's good, because that means when you come on my plan, well, you're going to be the same way with me, right? And that's not something I have to teach you. Does that kind of answer your question? There's something else that I want to add to that, but I want to make sure I answer your question first before I go into another topic.
Yeah, you do. That answers the question. So you would say like when you're casually dating, it's not really serious, that it's not that huge of a deal, right? Because you're paying, it's not that serious. But once you get into a more serious state of, where you're looking more serious to that marriage or something like that, you definitely want to bring it up and make sure she understands that this is going to be the path forward.
Correct. So like, and it's different because just being transparent and honest, right? Like as a man, you can casually date somebody and it's just for certain reasons, and then you could actually court somebody for a serious relationship, committed exclusive relationship, right? So those are two different things. And it's interesting because when you're going out with this person, they know that as well. Like they typically either have the same mindset as you, they're really just wanting like a type of companion, versus somebody when you're actually going out with somebody towards a common goal of a serious relationship, committed relationship, or marriage. There's different things that you go to or you do. So, like for instance, if there's somebody that I'm really interested in, as far as a candidate for something more committed, serious, exclusive marriage, then I will take them out and do different things than I would with somebody who I'm dating casually. There's certain things that or certain places I would go and take them as far as dates. Like I will tell you somebody casually, honestly, I would probably spend a little bit more money on them versus somebody that I'm actually going out with seriously. And the reason being is because typically the person that like, I guess you, let's just say for lack of better terms, a serious person that I'm going out with, that I'm taking more seriously, I'm going to go with them to I'm going to do activities with them more than I am going to just go to the movies or to a dinner or whatever it is, because I want to see how they react to certain things. You know what I mean? And a lot of these activities, they don't cost a lot of money. Like for instance, let's say a barbecue of friends, or let's say a lake day, or hey, we're going to the coast or whatever. You know what I mean? Typically those are activities that are done with other people that I love, you know what I mean, that are close to me. And typically those really don't cost a lot of money. You know, that doesn't cost a lot. But somebody who I'm casually dating, like if we go out to go eat, you know what I mean? That's a good amount of cash versus somebody, going to a barbecue with multiple people and stuff. It's just different type of things. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that does make sense. And the reason why I want to bring this conversation up, guys, is because, finances, disagreement in finances is a huge reason why, a lot of people get divorced, right? And I think you mentioned this earlier, Mr. Rich, but, what we do in terms of finances and how we handle it probably is not normal to the average person, right? Unless you grew up, with your parents similar like this, more than likely a lot of people don't do budgets. A lot of people don't handle their finances. They just kind of like splurge and stuff like that. So as you get in, let's say you get into a more serious relationship with a partner, with someone, and there's resistance or there's like, what, I don't think that's really, I don't agree with how you handle your finances. I don't want to do that. I just want to buy the things I want to buy. And how do you think you would handle that? Or is that like a deal breaker? Or what do you think about that?
That's a really good question. So, okay, typically, just to put it bluntly, it's kind of just my way or the highway. Like, hey, you know what? The way that it is, and I've heard this before on some other people's shows, and I think it was, I can't exactly remember how he says it, but it was Donovan Sharp, and the way that he says it is like, one time it's a coincidence, two times it's a pattern, three times it's a habit, right? So I really put this into play when I'm going out with the women. So like if there's something, and not only finance, but like a lot of other things. There's some things that's one time and it's done. You know what I mean? But it's three strikes, you're out. So first time it's like, okay, she does this, she exhibits this thing, then I'll bring it up. Like, hey, you know what? I don't do that. Or hey, you know what? When you're with me, you don't do that. You know what I mean? Just going ahead and setting my boundary, letting her know that, hey, you know what? We're not gonna go past this. Second time, if she does that, then it to me it's showing the disrespect of, hey, you know what? I've already set this boundary one time. You know what I mean? Now you're showing that you have a pattern of this. You know what I mean? If this is going to be an issue, then that's it. And typically by the second time, I guess you can say, for lack of a better term, but she's on like a probationary period. What I'll do is, you know, maybe I won't go out with her as much. You know what I mean? Maybe I won't take her to go do these certain things. You know what I mean? And at that point, typically this is where it usually stops. Either she doesn't exhibit that anymore, or what happens is she changes. Like she just typically just changes, or we just don't go out period anymore. I'm just like, you know what? I don't even want to deal with that, because there could be sometimes too where they do something and it just turns me off. Like it's just like, ah man, like forget it. Like, you know, I don't even want to go out with you anymore, you know, and that's pretty much it. There's no second time. The second time it's they pretty much stop. They know that I'm not going to take that, whatever. It's not going to fly with me, and that's it. And then well, the third time we've already passed boundaries, disrespect. Now I know you really just don't give a you know what I mean? Like now I know that you think that you rule this and whatever, you know what I mean? And honestly, I believe that you should never get to the third time. If you get to the third time, you should really be looking at yourself and saying, hey, you know what? Am I a you know what I mean? Why am I allowing this? You know, do you have that scarcity mindset? But I will tell you that before, it definitely was something that I would do all the time. I would just let slide these certain things. You know, I'd say, oh no, well, it's not her fault. I give all these excuses, whatever, right? And that's not what it is. Like it's you. You're allowing this, you know what I mean? So that's why she's doing it. Because women will do whatever you allow. If you set those boundaries, they're they know how far they can go and how far they can't. You know, and if they want to continue your relationship, whether it's just casual dating or serious relationship, then they'll change.
Yeah, I think boundaries is really important. You know, setting boundaries on, you know, your relationship and stuff like that. Like this is where you draw the line. And that's pretty important. I'd also add to that, like, you know, you believe in following these money habits for a reason, right? So I'd also say I would tell you to tell them why you believe it, right? Why do you believe this is gonna make you financially successful? And eventually, you know, if you ever bring a partner into this, hey, look, this is why I think we can become financially successful, right? Eventually, right? If we follow these types of money habits and stuff like that. I think it's definitely tough now to, men were attracted to women that are going to be dressed up and nice, right? They're going to have their nails done. They're going to have, you know, they're going to be well groomed, stuff like that. Naturally, we're going to be attracted to those types of things. But then you don't want to bring in, a princess that's all of a sudden like, there's times where we may not be able to have those things. And you got to be able to, do those hard things sometimes financially, right? Because could have when you have, especially when you have kids, right? There's a lot of other costs that are going to come with that, and there's going to be times where, you know what, we can't do these certain things, without using credit cards and stuff like that, right? Without overspending. I think it's important. It's hard to balance those, and it's the challenge sometimes for people in relationships. So I think it's kind of important to talk about. And what else? Other perspectives. If y'all have any, out there, put them in the comments. Is this a deal breaker for you? Is it not? Do you think finances and relationships are important? You know, I certainly think they are. Right. I think you know, you need to definitely be on the same page, right? Because if you have, if you're trying to dig a hole, or you're trying to fill a hole, but the person down there is trying to dig dig the hole out, and vice versa, like it just won't work, right? You need to be on the same page uh, in terms of finances. I think that's pretty important.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would like completely agree. Like as far as with finances, you have to keep in mind that you as a man, you are in control of those things. So no matter what, whether you really are in a serious relationship, just dating, if you're married, you have to set these boundaries in the beginning. I actually just had a conversation with a family member and they brought up they said something and I was very surprised that they said it, but they're like, you know what, that person should have set those boundaries in the beginning and then the other person would have known like, hey, you know what, they can't do that. And that's correct. Like, I, this is one thing that I will say, okay, that people need to realize that you believe that, oh, this is like common sense or like, they should automatically know this, whatever. Nobody knows what they don't know, right? So you have to go ahead. You don't know what you don't know. So you have to go ahead and always, always state your boundaries. Don't ever assume, right? Don't ever assume. And, if you go to put it out there and, the other party says like, oh, okay, I know, or like, oh, I wouldn't do that, whatever. Like, okay, but hey, you know what? You covered your assets. You know what I mean? You were able to go ahead and say, hey, you know what? I've told you this already, and not give them that freebie of like, well, I never knew. You never told me that, whatever. Like, no, no, no. We clearly talked about this before, so, but being able to go to handle your finances, yeah, man, like it opens up so many doors to do things that you actually want to do, to grow the way that you want to. Make sure you have that all under control. Because the other thing as well is Murphy's Law. A lot of people forget about this, but anything bad that can happen will happen, right? So you want to go ahead and make sure that you're prepared, because it's very similar to what we talked about before, which is you want to be able to go ahead and respond, not react. Because believe me, guys, it sucks, but this is life. Something is going to happen. And when that something happens, you want to make sure that you're prepared. And the way that you do that is those little money habits.
Yeah, thanks for giving your perspective and how you kind of like see things. If there's anything else y'all think we missed to add, comment down below. How do you do it? Do you handle it well? Is it concern or not concern? But yeah, definitely get some insight on how single man will handle his finances in terms of relationship. So I thought it was really good.
Yeah, guys, appreciate it. Yeah, let us know. Show us y'all's voice. You know what I mean? I know that a lot of y'all are kind of watching the videos and stuff, but really not leaving those comments or anything. Let us know what you think. Tell us whether you agree with us, disagree with us, why you agree or disagree, and let's start a conversation. Yeah, guys, we appreciate y'all.